Hello and welcome to another GCSE revision video. In this video we're going to be looking at the AQA 8300 series, the second paper in the foundation tier, and this is the June 2017 past paper. Now the first and most important thing is this box at the top. It says centre number, candidate number, surname, forename, candidate signature. Under exam conditions, it's really easy to start panicking and start thinking about answering the questions, but it's really important to take a minute before the start of the exam, when as soon as you can see your paper, to check your centre number and candidate number and the spelling of your name, just to make sure it's correct. Otherwise you might be wasting your time in the exam because your marks won't be accredited to you. So just make sure they've got your information right. There's a good chance that it will be already printed on your paper, but if it isn't, fill in these numbers at the start, fill in these boxes at the start, because I can't stress that the whole exam depends on this. It may sound obvious while you're doing the revision, but it's so very easy to forget in the actual exam itself. Okay, so paper 2 is a calculator paper. It says for this paper you must have a calculator and mathematical instruments. Now by mathematical instruments they generally mean a protractor, a ruler and a compass. The calculator should be a scientific calculator with sine, cosine and log, sine, cosine and tangent functions, and it should ideally be your calculator, one that you have brought to the exam. Make sure the batteries are fine, make sure you know how to use your calculator. Every calculator has its own little quirks. Make sure it's your calculator that you're familiar with. You don't want to be spending precious time looking for buttons on your calculator. A lot of invigilators do bring extra calculators for the benefit of people who forgot, but if you're using someone else's calculator you have no control over how good the calculator is. You might get some crummy calculator that doesn't work all that brilliantly, and it's possible you could end up spending ages looking for the buttons that you need and not quite sure how the calculator works. Also make sure your calculator is set to degrees. During the entire paper you will only be asked to work in degrees. Okay, so the instructions say use black ink or black ballpoint pen, draw diagrams in pencil. The black ink is really important because the scanners and photocopiers can't generally see blue ink, and therefore there's a good chance that when your paper is scanned and sent to the examiners that they might not be able to read the paper, or they couldn't read your answers if it's written in blue ink. So make sure you do use black ink. So it's a good idea to bring one or two spare black ink pens so that you don't run out halfway through the exam. It says answer all questions. I would take that piece of advice with a pinch of salt. If you get stuck on a question, you can just miss it and go to another question. Hoover up all the easy marks first and then come back to the harder questions if you've got time. You must answer the questions in the spaces provided. Do not write outside the box, around each page or on blank pages. Again, this has to do with the area of the paper that's actually scanned. So the area in the box is the area that will be scanned. If you write outside the box, it might not be scanned, it might not be marked. Do all rough work in this book. Cross through any work you do not want to be marked. It is really important because a lot of questions, especially multi-mark questions, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mark questions, you actually get marked on your working out, not just for the answer. For information, it says the marks for questions are shown in brackets. The maximum mark for this paper is 80. Now you've got 1.5 hours to answer the questions. That's 90 minutes. So if you budget 1 minute for each mark, so if you take 3 minutes on a 3-mark question, you should find yourself with 10 minutes left at the end of the exam to go back and check your work. You may ask for more answer paper, graph paper and tracing paper. These must be tagged securely to this answer book. Again, if they're not tagged securely, they can come apart. If they come apart, you won't get marked for the work that you do. And the only advice it gives is, in all calculations, show clearly how you work out your answer. Again, that's because you get marked for your working out. The only other advice I can think of to give you is to make sure you go toilet before your exam. You are given time to go to the toilet during the exam. You are allowed to go to the toilet during the exam, and the invigilator will escort you to the toilet and escort you back. The problem is you don't get given any extra time, and as we've just calculated, time means marks. Okay, and that's all the instructions for the exam, and so we'll pick up in question 1 in the next video. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. I'd like to wish you every success with your revision and every success with your exams, especially if you're taking them this year, and I look forward to seeing you in another video.